This video is brought to you by Huel.
This is one example where my OCD could have been useful, and I did not know, like, I knew there was some kind of substance. Hey, by the way, boys and girls out there, don't try this at home, but I just want to let you know that you can commit a felony as a TV professional wrestler. You can run people over like Rikishi did to Austin. You can kidnap. You can actually marry a woman like Triple H did to Stephanie as she's drugged up with the mysterious red mist poison. So just so you know, don't try it at home, though. Also, if you're a professional therapist, you can also drug your patients and then paralyze them and slap them and hit them with a glass bottle in the face. This was something here that I don't know how it wasn't done in post. I don't know what the miscommunication was. But yeah, after the segment and after everything happened and then aired, I was like, wait a minute. We didn't really even explain what was in the drink. We didn't do it. Abyss just showed up. He didn't even show him drinking whatever out of the Dixie cup or whatever. He was just paralyzed when he broke into the office. It was an oversight, and I get it. It was wrestle crap, but you know what? It's ridiculous, and people remember it.
Well, Stevie, before we get too much further into why Jim Cornette was no fan of that particular segment, we need to take a quick minute out to talk about my lunch. In fact, I've got a sick baby at home who doesn't want to be anywhere but in my arms, and making food for myself would normally be a complete nightmare, but not with Huel. All it takes is 60 seconds to make, simply 2 scoops and some water, but in my case some skim milk and a bit of crushed ice. And Huel Black Edition chocolate flavour, like all the flavours, is just 400 calories for a full serving. It has all the carbs and proteins, essential fats, fibres, vitamins, minerals, not only for a balanced diet, but also to help boost your energy and your immune system as well. Now, for loyal followers of our show, you will know that we only take on sponsors that Stevie and myself are personally fans of, and that's why we are both big fans of Huel, which is why we are pleased to be able to offer 15% off your next Huel order, courtesy of the unique link www.huel.com/Stevie15. Now, the link is in the description and the pinned comment, as well as the QR code on screen. That way, I'm hoping. So, Huel Black Edition powders work out about $2.65 per complete meal. It's good for you. It takes just 60 seconds to make. Click our exclusive link to get 15% off your next meal, courtesy of Huel's Black Edition range. Now, back to you, Stevie, about that TNA segment. Right, explain the full segment then, what the people actually saw at home.
Okay, so I believe the week before is when I kidnapped Lauren. Once again, you can commit a felony on wrestling TV and not get prosecuted. And that promo I took great pride in. I was in a dark room where it was lit with the blue, like the panel I have back here, lit with one of those LCD panels up into our faces. The interesting part about that segment, we each do a watch along, because of Spike TV, I wasn't going to choke her. I wasn't permitted to, how should I say, prohibit her. Or I forget what obviously I kidnapped her for TV. I wasn't permitted to like have her handcuffed or have her legitimately held hostage or anything. So my arm was around her like Hurricane, but I wasn't touching her. If you watch it, my fist is up here. I'm resting on her shoulder, but I'm not, how should I say? I'm not restraining her. I'm not restraining her or keeping her from going anywhere. Of course, I have her hidden in her room. That promo was telling him to show up in my office next week for therapy. I mean, that segment's one of my favorite ones, the one I'm talking about where I kidnapped her on the Titantron and we're going back and forth. But the next week in the office was the continuation of that where he showed up. They just left the part out where he did the future episode and took a drink. That's it. And then he came into the office. He busted through the door. He grabbed me, took me down, and that's when he started to feel the effects of the drug. And then he was paralyzed. I did a couple slaps to him, and then I did the big glass thing saying, "You look parched," and hit him with it. And that was kind of like sort of near the go home of Victory Road that we were wrestling.
So whose idea was that?
Russo.
I mean, if Cornette hated it, I imagine.
That's why Cornette has a problem. It was ridiculous, and it turned out to be like wrestle crap in a way, but it was really just an oversight. I would have rather have, if I could redo it again, which I was completely fine with the way Russo wrote that and the fact they built me an office. That kind of stuff was cool to me. And doing an actual vignette or a pre-tape and something continuing from the week before, show me through, outside of Dominic, show me things they string together for multiple weeks in 2025. But what I would have done would have been to tase him from behind, drag him into the office and do everything there as he's kind of, shaking and convulsing. That would have been a lot more visual to tase him, because the taser was something I had used on him already. No, that was after the fact. I wanted to introduce the taser like somewhere around there. No, I actually did tase him previous to Victory Road. I'm sorry, I get the timeline incorrect.
So did you hear from Cornette about this at any point? Or was this just on a podcast many years later that...
No, I've never heard or had a discussion with Cornette about that. But the fact is, it was a Vince Russo idea, whether it was good or bad. I'm sure that's what Cornette... And here's the thing, because just like with Dutch with Abyss, the only reason I was in Dutch's orbit was because of Abyss. I was not anywhere in Jim Cornette's orbit outside of just very courteous conversations. Cornette and I never had a cross word. I told you, when he said something stinks or sucks or whatever, he'll drop the F-bombs and he'll tell you why it's, but you are getting a lesson from him. Now, he never made any kind of, like, after the fact, like when he's drinking going, hey, is this that special poison? Or anything like that. But I never had that many conversations with him.
No. But, I mean, it sounds like you basically both agree is that it was a big oversight and it wasn't explained properly on television.
Absolutely. It was the worst oversight that I could think of in a way for that segment. It became wrestle crap or botchamania or whatever. Just because you're missing a big part of what is making them act paralyzed. And I think I mentioned it, but the drug name was so long, I was just like, yeah, frazzle dazzle, sabida, or whatever the wrestling term was.
With let's just talk about Jim, because you mentioned that you could commit felonies in front of the camera. That's the same thing that he banged on about, and it's something that I've always hated in wrestling since at least the WWF introduced it in late '99. I think they introduced it pretty much the week Russo left. And I don't know why they do it, and they still do it, and I still hate it, and I have to always forward every single backstage segment where they're just acting in front of the camera. It's been 25 years. I will never enjoy those. And once again, you can commit felonies. You can do everything you want. At least with Cornette, he had some fun, and he called Dixie Carter or somebody some very rude names, but in Pig Latin. Or, Carney.
I get it.
And they left it in.
Oh, they left it in?
Yes.
Wow. Well, I will say this. There are some moments that are completely out of the scope of like normal society. Like one of my favorite things is like the visual of, Austin dropping the thing onto the tour bus and the tour bus exploding. These big productions. The cement put in the Corvette with Austin McMahon. What else? Hogan in the NWO hitting the ambulance with the semi. I mean, these are ridiculous. I know they're ridiculous, but the visual of them to me, that's the number one thing that really denotes with WWE at that time is at least effort. Effort to do something so out there. Did you see that? It's not real. I mean, dude, there was people talking about the murder of Mr. McMahon when his limo exploded. I mean, Paul London looked super happy about it, but everybody else was like, what's going on?
It's not the big productions. It's just there's a camera right in there in your dressing room and you're having these horribly personal conversations where you're planning to beat someone up and telling them exactly how you're doing it. And everyone's got to pretend that the camera isn't there.
Okay, but just to say in reality, what was that Netflix documentary where the guy went into the hotel bathroom and just confessed all his crimes with the lav mic still on him? Schultz or something? It happens in real life. Somebody just talks and confesses. I'm not saying it's not ridiculous, but it's enjoyably ridiculous sometimes. Unless you leave out the red mist poison ingredient in the pre-tape.
I might be wrong in saying this, but I think it might have been Dallas that invented that. The multi-camera segment outside.
Yeah.
Because I saw one for like 84 with J.J. Dillon, and it's like, there was a car in the camera, there was a car behind Kerry or whoever it might be.
Ewing from Dallas, right?
Was he J.J. Ewing?
Yeah, the Ewing family, from Dallas.
I did mean Dillon, as in the manager.
Well, I know J.J. Dillon. He's not.
Oh, okay. Well, let's call him J.J. Ewing of the Four Horsemen in the future.
You were saying you said Dallas. That was the...
the Dallas Territory, WCCW.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Dallas, the TV show from the 80s.
No. I never watched it. It was a bit old for me.
But that's what I mean. They were also plotting with a bunch of cameras around them, too. It's all how you do it. By the way, one of my favorite segments was shot, even though cameras were there and everything, was the Horsemen tying Dusty's arm up to the back of the pickup truck and hanging with the bat. They filmed it. That's what makes it good. Even though you don't want to film your crime, but
or Miss Atlanta Lively, which is Ronnie Garvin.
Those vignettes, right?
Oh, that was like a full long backstage thing. But once again, like the cameras kind of explained, and like the wrestlers and whoever would turn to the camera and say, "Right, you hide there," and da. They would make, and this is much credit to Russo in WWF. They would always either acknowledge the camera, or they would have a secret camera from afar filming wrestlers' conversations.
Like somebody sneaking up and eavesdropping on them, yeah.
Yeah, there was a logic there to it. But once a great one of it is Vince McMahon. If you remember the episode where Steve Austin had just been fired, and then the next day he comes to shoot him, and he's got the fake gun with the bang.
Yeah, when he peed his pants at the end of Raw.
Yeah. But there are so many backstage segments where Vince constantly says, "Right, you, the cameraman, stay here. Pat and Jerry, you stay here. Sergeant Slaughter, or whatever." But the cameraman is another character in it, and it makes sense why it's being broadcast to the fans, because Vince even says, "I want this to document any potential crimes that happen." That's what gets me, is that they don't bother with that anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish there was that much effort put into every single town. We're going to talk about the Dominic Mysterio second week in a row. What went right? Why can't you do that across the whole show and have that continuity?